have a resolution to a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It has been good to see our new members who have been showing up at committee meetings. And we are planning on a selection process at the end of the month to get them settled in committees by June. So that they have a chance to attend in their official committees before we break for summer. So I will be asking by email all the new members to list in order of preference the 3 committees that they've interested in. And my hope is that I can make it work so that everyone gets 2 out of those 3. Transportation will remain capped at 11. I think housing and land use will have limited additions because 2 members left over the last period of time.
That sounds very high.
Peter and Rhonda. So it's important to ensure that all committees have adequate members of business. So I will be trying to cap some where it's absolutely necessary. We decided tentatively to repeat what we did last year, which is to turn the June steering committee into a full board. That was very helpful because it allowed all the June resolutions from committees to get a final stamp of approval from the full board before we broke for summer. And nobody had to start explaining to agencies, why we were sending only a committee, which is good. The quick meeting we hold then at the end of the month of June will be followed by snacks and a little time to socialize. Because we hope it will be very quick. And we would not be holding a public meeting at that time. So it would just be to do business before it. We do, however, plan on a more expanded social event later in June, and Max will discuss that a little bit as well. I wanted to give a shout out to the Parks and Environment Committee. Yesterday, there was a terrific presentation on the reconstruction of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, as well as several other projects that Parks has. And it was a very creative and sensitive rebuilding plan that dealt with the handicapped issues. You can see it if you missed it on YouTube, starting at 1 hour and 26 minutes into the meeting. Housing and land use has been working hard in subcommittees to prepare a resolution for City of Yes Better Housing Opportunity for the June board. And while we know that city planning will accept comments from community boards later on in July, we need the June board to approve an official board position. We can then issue follow-up letters to DCP as we go deeper into the study of the massive documents that comprise the City of Yes proposals. But without a full board vote, we are not able to rely on our approved resolution to actually follow up with letters like we frequently do on other matters. I'd like to turn things over to Max for the district manager's report.
Sure, thanks. So first, we're letting everyone know that full board is going to be held just around the corner at St. Paul and St. Andrews, Kent. And thanks to Kay, who I don't see here, but we appreciate him for arranging that. Next, HHS is holding a meeting this month at 7 o'clock, as they usually do. But HHS members will have to go to Red Oak. Say, Michelle, I can talk a little bit more about that when you give your report. But I just wanted to reiterate for everyone that that is where you're to meet. Oh, and Will too. I see. I see you before. Not the CB7 office, because we're envisioning it being a bigger meeting. So we're going to it's pretty much right adjacent to the location of the shelter too. So it's going to be a good opportunity to bring a lot of people in to talk there. Let's see. Thirdly, really touched on it before, but it might be helpful when you have your committee meetings, if you could have some of your board members, if you hear the bell not being answered, if you could buzz people in, because we might be working on the tech to get it running and starting on time. And let's see.
Excuse me, Max.
Oh, yeah.
What are the instructions for using this?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. There's, we can go over it at some point, but there's basically just a little arrow points to which door it is. There's gonna be two buttons that appear on that screen. And then when someone's there, it'll go up. I think it would you'd only be able to see it when someone's actually down there. But like there'll be two buttons, like a choice A and a choice B, and a little arrow will appear next to the door that it's referring to, either the downstairs door or the upstairs one.
It's not the budget about.
It's, yeah, right, it's not like thing that's attached to the wall, more high tech, actually on the screen. So.
It's not the thing that says buzz. Right.
Oh, right, that may have been from an earlier time that was dated. Maybe we'll get rid of the word buzzer, I see that.
Yeah,
now.
pull that little piece of
That could be
tape.
confusing.
Put a tape over.
Yeah, so that, because we might be working on tech and might not be able to quickly get there in time. And then finally, as Beverly mentioned, we're gonna hold a second full board in June, an abbreviated one on the steering committee date. And we're gonna hold a social gathering, probably also on the 24th. It's gonna be in Riverside Park. I don't think we have the budget this year to do Ellington in the park as we did in earlier years, but Jesse's arranged to get a permit so we can use the park. And I'll send a note out about that. And that's my report.
Thank you. And I will announce that Doug is here remotely on a waiver, so for unexpected travel. We do have a resolution tonight on a very kind of technical matter that was circulated earlier and has been posted on the agenda.
Do you want me to get it up on the screen?
Yeah.
And I can just add, it's in the it's been in the handbook. The members handbook since it was started in 2017.
Right, but it was removed in the 2022 rewrite of the bylaw.
But it was never removed from the handbook, so
Right.
it's always been part of our.
It's been part of our culture, it's been part of our practice, but because there have been questions about how we organize quorum and attendance and other matters for joint meetings, we think it might be useful to formalize that once again and restore it to the bylaws. So this is the resolution to do that. The issue is in effect brought to the surface by the fact that our BCI committee and our transportation committee have determined that they will be hearing jointly the applications for open dining New York. And so the street cafes and the sidewalk cafes that come to us for applications will be joint committee matters. So it became more kind of important, since that will be a regular feature of the way we do business, to clarify this for everyone. I don't know if there are questions on the exact text or whether anyone wants me to read it. Let me take questions perhaps or comments.
Call the question.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Just one comment, because there's been a little bit of back and forth on the email around whether how this impacts attendance issues. This was written to address the quorum question, right? And it does that. Our practice on attendance and absences and so forth for joint meetings has been that if the meeting is on a night and you are ordinarily committed to attend that particular committee and you are not there, you would be marked absent. If it is a night when you are a committee, part of a committee that is not normally on that night and you do not attend, you are not marked absent. I would be happy to keep that as simple continuing practice, or if people
Makes
feel
more
that's
sense.
more appropriate, we can write something into the bylaws that does have that clear preference.
I just want to say it's very appropriate because preservation has to meet a certain night. And we didn't meet in combination last time, of course, it was a big mistake. I feel my mistake. So I think that this is an excellent resolution. Okay.
Shelley,
I think it makes a little sense in the world, we can take out the other nine, maybe a regular responsibility for that addition.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, can you just clarify, as far as quorum is concerned, a quorum is required to start a meeting as well as for.
to do business,
So like,
Yeah.
there's no resolution dependent, item that they're discussing at the other.
I think there's a gray area as to what constitutes doing business. I think, Shelley,
My recollection over years is it's good to have as many people there as possible, but if you don't have a quorum, you cannot vote
correct,
on any issue, but otherwise,
you can chat.
But you could have a decision.
And
But you cannot make decisions as a committee.
outside of the board, but in other boards, if no one calls for quorum, there is no issue with the quorum, but we don't do that.
And I was under the impression that you need a quorum to begin, but then if you lose your quorum halfway through, you can still vote, and those votes are counted.
Unless the land-
Okay.
Oh, so if you have a quorum, if you have a quorum, 6 people,
Yeah,
and at 6:30 you start your meeting, and at 7 o'clock, one of the people has to leave, and no one noticed. Then it's fine. But once they know, they don't
Can I-
think you're messed up.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Hello, greetings from sunny Nevada. Yeah, right, exactly what Shelley just said and Roberta, that according to Robert's rules, if nobody brings up the issue of lack of quorum, you can continue. If somebody questions it, you have to go through account, and the jig is up. But I had a question about the way we wrote this resolution. I think it's smart because it gives us flexibility. So it's a quorum, the majority of one committee. I guess the question as a practical matter is if we have quorum for one with one committee and it doesn't have to be the host committee, right?
Right, we try to avoid using the term host because that gives us greater flexibility.
Our
But
practice has
still,
always been,
if it's a night, as an example, if it's a night that BCI normally meets on, and BCI doesn't have a quorum, but transportation does, you can go forward and have business, but the absentees from BCI will be marked absent. That's
Great.
all.
That makes, that's what I read it to be. Thank you.
Just devil's advocate, so does this mean that, let's say quorum is 7 and you have 3 from BCI and 4 from transportation? Does that count as a?
not a quorum of the committee. So if the committee needs 7, then you have to have 7.
One or the other.
And if transportation only needed 5 and transportation had 5, and BCI needed 7, then you go with.
Yeah, that is what it says. I just want to
Yeah,
make sure
yeah.
that that's.
And that's been our policy for,
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it was in our prior bylaws.
it was in the prior bylaws, it was taken out, but we're in a place where it seems to me almost every issue crosses the boundaries of at least 2 committees. And then it's the choice of the committee chairs. Do they wish to make it a joint meeting or do they not? What the jointness permits is that members of all the committees involved can vote as committee members. And the majority of those in the quorum who are present can all be as, their votes are counted as committee votes. So that what is needed to get to a yes, that a resolution is approved, can involve both sets of members of both committees. It's to
You just coined a new term, jointness.
join.
Call the question.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so this then will go to full board in June, which sets up the situation for our BCI and transportation joint work going forward.
Can I ask an attendance question that's not related directly to that? Kevin and I have had a really good relationship with alternating these steering committee meetings because we both travel for work, and that's part of why we thought we'd be good co-chairs. But it means that I still have a ton of absences because I'm missing almost half of the steering committee
No.
meetings.
As we passed in our bylaws, but last summer, an amendment that states that if one co-chair of a committee is present at steering, the other will not be marked as.
Okay, good.
So it's
This committee, the committee account, rather.
The committee's present.
present,
Perfect. All right,
so that we can use the committee input to prepare for full board, which is.
perfect. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are a few people who'd be in trouble otherwise.
Yeah.
Exactly, I need to make sure I need to use my credit card.
Okay, so, I guess, do we need to have a count of the committee vote? Probably, is everyone present?
I'm done.
With 15.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I voted yes, yeah.
Zero. And so we should move on to, committee reports.
Can you introduce our new chair?
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
So,
You're up to you.
thanks. So Harry has agreed to co-chair budget and strategy. So I can now occasionally miss a meeting.
I'm thrilled to have been asked, I'm thrilled to cover for you on the committee.
And we might even have some big numbers.
Yes.
Okay, can we do our report?
Okay, you're jumping the queue, but.
So we sent, thanks to Alex, a list to each committee that has budget, capital and expense priorities, a list of what their priorities were for fiscal year 25, which starts, by the way, in July. And with the comments that the agency sent back to us, and with our reply to the agencies about their comments. And we're just curious, has that been helpful?
Yes.
Absolutely, definitely that good. So it's in a spreadsheet, I mean, it's in a database, and we can keep updating the database. And we're meeting in June. We're available to help any of you with any of your, if you need to get some data, you need to find out which databases to use, which, look at some sets of data. We're also looking at funding that's going to come out of the fiscal year 25 budget, which will impact things we've already. So right now, we know it's libraries and it's senior centers. And it's nurses and
Nurses, yeah.
probably food for schools. And
Yeah.
So as we find them, we'll feed them out to you guys.
I think right now, this is before council restoration, so we may actually be in a significantly stronger position. Come July 1st. That's all.
Actually, I have a comment on this because I feel like our timing is a little off of the city council budget, right? So I feel like each year I draft it in like the beginning of June, but then obviously the budget doesn't pass until the end of June, so you're revising in July. So part of me feels like the details, the money, the actual numerical ask to just hold till July when we see what actually comes out of the city
As
council.
long as we have most of our district needs by the beginning of summer, and some of the capital and some of the expense, we can play with it in September. It's so when everything comes in September, we're all very busy. It's Yeah.
Light comes in September, yeah.
So if we come over this. There's a new portal now to put all the information, if we can start putting the stuff in the portal over the summer. And start editing and start put, you know, the language has not been great because we haven't been able to edit back and forth and. You know, we can have photographs, and if we can know what you're doing, we can suggest some photographs or some things that would be helpful. So it's just helpful to us if we can, Carrie and I both got training in the new portal and Max. And I think Alex as well. So it's gonna be much easier to use. It's gonna be much easier for us to integrate stuff. But it's still not, you know, it's not thousands of words, you know, 500 to 600 words for.
It'll be,
Also, we know that, OMB and city planning, when they receive our needs and, our budget requests, they are particularly focused if in fact we have letters of support from city agencies, from nonprofits that are engaged in the work, whatever. So maybe this will give us additional time so that we can actually get those letters and upload them in the system, because that's makes a much more powerful ask. And
To give an example, to make it a little bit easier, if you have a playground at 108th Street. And you know that there are 3 schools within 2 blocks, and the PTA write a letter saying that their kids really need to use this playground. It's gonna be helpful.
It would be really interesting if there was, and we could do it, I guess. And maybe it was done a while back, but a study to see what percentage of the budget request that each of us, or each of our committees put forth to the various agencies actually,
Well, that's one of the things our committee is gonna do in June.
that would be
We have a
amazing.
database, and what we've been doing with the database is putting the year, I mean, you can look at it online, but we haven't set the database around. We figured we don't want everyone's lives, but we put in the year that it was where we remember what year it was requested, because we only started the base last year, but we put it if it's completed. So what we're gonna do is create a report that will show within the last 2 years what we funded and what we counted and what we know will never be funded.
It'd be interesting to see which city agencies are most amenable to the community board requests, and which are not.
but there's also the side of this that is what we're asking for. When we have very large generalized requests, they're far less likely to
Yeah.
be recognized.
Right.
and-
And certain things we're always gonna talk about food insecurity. It's always gonna be very generic. We're always gonna talk about not how to, and it's gonna be kind of generic, but where we can talk about that PSX doesn't have a nurse. And that they have, you know, 500 students and 150 of them are special needs students or students with the, you know, with.
Yeah,
Whatever.
the more specific
And then
we are,
specific about
the
why.
more
yeah,
likely,
exactly, that-
the
that
more
nurse.
likely we are to see success in our advocacy.
But just to answer your question, Kristen, it doesn't, you shouldn't be doing double the work by
Right,
working in June and then redoing it, so.
so I can put these placeholders,
If you-
like I know like the
yeah.
topic, like the top
Yeah.
line, and then the details for the budget.
Yeah.
will come later.
The budget stuff we can do later, it's
Yeah.
really the district needs that we wanna really start writing. You know, what ideally, we'd like to send it back to you to read before we submit it,
Yeah, that makes sense.
which we haven't been able to do, because very often we're typing it in, you know.
Yeah.
Not user friendly.
No, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Reservation.
We have just one brownstone on 70. But yeah, on 75th Street, that's putting, they already have a rooftop addition, they're modifying that and straightening the roof, so the roof will go up a little bit because it had a beam problem. And and then they have some new front steps, which we also felt were fine. The only thing we didn't think worked well was the front door that they put in that landmark approval. And so we just approved it with the front.
Okay, but it's one resolution.
One resolution.
Oh, great. Thank you. Transportation.
We had a heck of a meeting, as we normally do. Many important issues, making 81st and 96th Street stations of B and C line accessible, that is going to commence this summer. That will go on for quite a while. That's much needed. There were obviously folks at the 96th Street station who were worried about their building. At the 97th, the southwest corner of 97th Street of Central Park West, where the new stairway will be. We all thought initially that it would be on the north side of 97th Street because it's a much wider sidewalk, but while the platform extends there, the passageway and mezzanine does not. So they have to do it on the southwest corner of 97th Street. So we will be monitoring that, vibration, sound, and all of those issues, as well as the 81st Street, because there's a wide sidewalk there, but the driveway from the Rose Center comes out right near where they're going to be setting up a work zone. So we have to work with the museum and see how that's going to work out. But that's going to happen this summer. And obviously that's a big issue for a lot of riders. There are no accessible stations north of 59th Street and south of 125th Street on the B-C line. So getting to in the middle of the line is a big advantage. We also had a presentation from DOT on improvements they hope to make to the 96th Street crosstown bus to speed it up. While we agree with a lot of those, there are some that we do not agree with, and we'll be speaking to the borough commissioner tomorrow when we meet with him tomorrow afternoon. One of those proposals is from eastbound 96th Street, no left turns on Amsterdam Avenue to allow the westbound N96 to have an easier time to go through. You can do that with signal changes. You don't want everybody going to Central Park West and then deciding, oh my God, what do I do here? Or everybody turning on Broadway. So we're going to speak to the borough commissioner about that, but there will be some speeding up, and they didn't mention transit signal prioritization, which we're also going to speak to the borough commissioner about. We've asked for 9 different intersections on the west side for 4 years now to get that, which has sped up buses in so many other city neighborhoods, and I don't know why we can't get that from DOT. So we'll be talking about that, and then of course the big issue was residential parking permits. We were just talking about that before the meeting. The borough president has come out in favor of that with some qualifications, but it may be something whose time has come. Everybody's worried about what happens when congestion pricing starts, hopefully on June 30th. We will see how the court cases resolve themselves, but that's a continuing discussion that our committee will have. We had Dr. Hugh's proposal. We've had this proposal, and there's still others that are going to be coming. So stay tuned. But we do not have any resolutions.
Is there any update on the West 72nd Street bike charging thing?
No, they opened a couple of them. They announced on television that ours wasn't one of them, and I think they are hopefully having second thoughts about that since there's such opposition. When they do the ones that they propose to do at City Hall, we'll be probably attending and talking to them about it.
My understanding from discussion with Community Board 1 is that they were only asked to approve the landmark aspects.
That's right, not the usage aspect.
Not the usage, not the transportation, but the landmark status. They disapproved it and raised all of the transportation concerns they had. It was approved through rent landmarks anyway. And my understanding is that the chair of Community Board 1 has subsequently met with the deputy mayor to propose a different site. So that may in fact not be going forward. So
I'm not surprised landmarks approved that, because that physically was not really adjacent to City Hall. The proposed one at 72nd Street is virtually adjacent to that landmark station building.
I read today, that, City Bike is going to be having some charging stations.
Yeah.
And right now they're only in the sidewalk, but they.
In the City Bike stands, they will have the charging ability.
They implied that they will be coming to the street as well.
So there's a lot of activity in this area. And now that we have closer relationships with the Parks Department in Manhattan, we can perhaps pursue another avenue of discussion.
That's great.
Wasn't there a company that
Gil Brewer was talking about.
Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah, they're in Brooklyn, and they have at least one site that's already open.
Yeah,
Um,
that is,
But
Basic,
so the pilot program that Pop Wheels and I think two other companies have put up in it's near that Grace Church School in Cooper Square.
right,
You have to go there and see three different pilots over there that are then charging.
Oh.
And it's a 6 month long pilot, including one by Pop Wheels. And
so there's lots going on.
and federal legislation on the safety issue related to lithium ion batteries, which is an ongoing issue, fires, explosions and all of that.
It passed the Senate,
One house, yeah.
White House. So I think that that's really bipartisan, so we actually may see it emerge, given what is not emerging, from Congress.
By the way, Pop,
Thank you.
sorry, Pop Wheels was approved by the fire department in New York.
So, moving forward, parks,
yeah, so next month we'll be bringing just one resolution, hopefully, which is the West 79th Street Marina. I just reached out to them today. They said they're definitely coming back next month. They haven't confirmed if they will be needing a resolution, but the last time they were there, they said that they will be needing a resolution in June. And then they will be going to LBC, PC, et cetera, over the summer. So it'll be an interesting meeting.
right, when they last came back,
Yeah,
it was conceptual, there
it
was,
was very conceptual. It was very
there was no
conceptual.
detail.
Yeah. No, not much detail.
But the concept had gone from 2 floors to 1. which
Yeah,
is-
the concept was, I mean, I feel like with every meeting, I get the feeling that they are listening to us and they're listening to the community and, you know, they're coming back with tweaks to the design that are all headed in the right direction. And I mean, we will have a marina over there. We've always had one and we will continue to have one. It's just like, you know, it won't be as huge as the initial scope was.
Health and Human Services. Will Shelley.
So Will and I are gonna have our hands full.
Yeah.
On next Tuesday night. There's one issue, but it's a major issue. There's a building at 2325 West 106th Street. That was an institutional building, used for schools, used for criminals, it had many uses over the years. But except, okay, and it has a gym and it has lunchroom, it has a lot of facilities. The problem is for months and months, the neighbors have been looking at things happening there. And destruction, construction, and it seemed like something was happening. We did not have any information to go on, Department of Social Services or anybody else. 2 years ago, Help USA, that had been the provider on 107th Street. There was a women's shelter on 107th Street and had been very successful over the years with initial resistance from the community and then embraced by the community. We've been demonstrated to keep it there, but eventually they changed it and then the landlord would not renew the lease, so that died. But 2 years ago, we heard rumors that there was going to be the shelter at 106th Street in that spot, but that died in about a month and a half, and then we haven't heard anything. So given that background and all the activity there, it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that we found that there is going to be a women's shelter there. Department of Social Services, and under that Department of Homeless Services, and Help USA would be the provider. The question was, it's form, and August is the planned opening date, which rarely happens, but when you hear such a short period, people were incensed, that why can't we find out things sooner and so on and so forth. The best we could do was bring the meeting to the community, okay? Fortunately, I was able to get Red Oak, community center, we've reported many times in the past. Problem was with technology not being ready, and Max, Jesse, and Allison have done a wonderful job in guaranteeing that we could have everything we need there done effectively that night. Now that site, Acorn site, is no longer going to be the Acorn site. It was sold, but a member of the board from Acorn has agreed to present to us shortly. That's Reverend Laura Jervis, who many of you know from being executive director of the Westside Federation Senior Supportive Housing. Many years, she was on the board of Acorn, and she's going to give a short presentation to explain that they are not the owners, that they, and how this evolved a little bit, because people have a million questions about it. And those are likely to come up and cloud the real issue. So we're hoping to get that out of the way. 3 people from DSS will be there. 3 from Help USA. One may be on, on the screen, and the other 2 will do the presentation. It's being billed as an informational session because we're not voting on to have it or not to have it. It's going to be. The purpose of this is to give everybody first-hand information to people who are doing it, to have all their questions answered, and I expect we have 100 questions, possibly, and to have the people from that community have easy access to come in person or on Zoom. But it's likely that the questions just won't be questions. There'll also be comments in there. And we're just going to take them in stride and question me. And what's the question? Because people have a right to express themselves. But short of abuse, which I don't think, abuse of question, I don't think will be. I think we can have an orderly night and people will feel that their concerns were addressed. If there are any major issues they bring up that they know might cause problem, we're going to follow up and address with DSS and with Help USA. If there's something we can do to make it better before it opens. The last piece is that there are activists in that community who are resurfacing and haven't been that. We keep getting, emails and should this be and shouldn't that be. We have to expect that, but and welcome it, because to fight the people who represent the community in some way is foolish. But to listen and try to be accommodating. So yes,
Shelley, how many units is proposed?
okay. It's units, a very good question. Units we don't know. We're going to find out that evening. There was talk about 130 women.
Potential residents.
At residents, but we don't know that. Now, if we just take what happened with the safe haven on 83rd Street, oh my God, 3 in a room, 4 in a room, 108. It never happened. Okay, is it likely that there'll be a lot of women coming there? Yes. Okay. But the issues, and I asked them to bring up the issues of why the women are there. Okay. And very often, domestic abuse was a concern. Okay. Very often, poverty was a concern. And that people's needs are clearly going to be addressed. Those needs and those concerns. And very often the women's shelter becomes an employment shelter also. On 107th Street, the women's shelter was, many of the women ended up working in the community. Okay, they had jobs in the community. They integrated into the community. They participated in the block association, so on. So we have had a positive experience with health provider and the women's shelter. I think that will come. But nevertheless, what will be, will be.
No resolution?
No, make sure not to have. A resolution has to be, we approve subject to, no, it's happening, okay? But, can exchange, yeah, by suggestions being taken and discussed. There, we will ask, and of course, they always plan to have a community advisory board. They usually want it once it's open, okay, not before. The community wants it, usually wants it before. Unlikely that will ever happen. But, they're really good people up there, okay? One positive thing is it's going to be at the Red Oak, which is the West Side Federation facility, so people will come downstairs and take their seats. And they're all friendly, you know, people.
Where?
I think they went to back. Oh,
Delivery. Somebody expecting something?
No, I don't think so. We often get people from the wrong,
Oh.
let's see, that little arrow should be at either or one or two, but sometimes they ring through and yeah, you look for the,
And the most positive thing is that elderly people with mobility impairment who would have difficulty getting here or wherever that will be right in the building or right down the block. So I think we, you know, address that and address the fact that we'll come in, the board is coming out to the community where they are. And
Right, and we're doing the sign up sheet for, you know, for speakers and the questions ahead and all the pieces that help really manage the flow.
yeah, if it's never gonna be the, you know, if there's an email today, from someone who's a leader there, that they would like a sign up situation on there. When they walk in, because some people can't use don't know how to use the technology, and we will accommodate.
Yeah.
But the reason it was good to connect with the leaders there is because they will bring up the issues, and say, oh, another issue, but it's good because we can address those issues in advance and not have, oh, I could have spoken if I had it. We don't want that. We want everyone to have an opportunity. And again, appreciate the staff for facilitating all this. You know, it's not easy. It's an extra, like having another full board meeting.
Yeah.
That's a responsibility. So we appreciate it. Will and I are happy. We'll be able to handle anything. Yeah.
You take care of it.
If
Well-
look out, if there's garden to that.
Thank you. Good luck. How big is land use?
So as Beverly mentioned, there are a number of resolutions that we are considering in support of City of Yes. In addition, if you remember, Cynthia Tibbs, who presented here back, I think it was February or March, has invited me to a tenant association meeting at the WSUR Brownstones on Tuesday. There's been some motions to vacate from the DOB. So they're meeting on that. So I'll be attending that next Tuesday. I'll make notes and report back to the group.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, so the meeting that is happening on Tuesday, that's by Zoom? That's what Richard had said at the meeting. I just wanted to confirm it's not.
Which meeting?
There was a meeting that has to talk about the draft resolution and vote on it before.
Right.
Right, that's happening on Zoom. It's in the calendar.
Yeah,
Just wanted to make sure.
We do need to have a formal committee meeting in order to vote, which means quorum here.
It can't be,
No,
okay, so contrary to what Richard said.
I think Richard then said, oops, and came back with the idea that it had to be.
Okay.
All right, there has to be
Yes,
some clarification.
it's on our, now it's on our website. And there's a Zoom link for the hybrid. We're doing it just like a regular committee meeting. It's all
But
set
it
up.
should be a regular committee meeting with quorum.
Right.
In order to be able to vote.
It's taking place on Thursday, the 28th at 5 o'clock.
No, it's Tuesday. It's
We're
the
talking
same
about
day as
different things, maybe?
the HHS meeting.
I was hoping
Then-
not Tuesday, because that's when we have the meetings.
That's why I was also hoping something.
Right,
I think this needs some clarity by tomorrow.
I can give some clarity now, because, so what happened was,
No. I just-
if so, then that's very much my mistake.
Now, I know that we do need to have an additional
Oh, sorry, yes,
formal committee meeting, but there have been these subcommittee meetings.
Right, that's
Yeah.
separate, yes.
Which
yeah,
are moving.
I can clarify now. Yeah, no, I was confusing Tuesday with Thursday. It is happening on Tuesday. I'd sent Shelley and I think Will and Beverly an email saying it's going to create no impact because we're time limiting the first one. And the staff, if you will, is going to be mostly over.
From
at
a Zoom management perspective.
Right, exactly. But because I'd worked this out with Richard and Tabitha, I believe, earlier in the week or last
Okay.
week. And so that meeting starting at 5 o'clock, it's gonna be time limited. That meeting is happening here. And then the HHS meeting is
Exactly.
happening at Red Oak, as I said earlier, and that's at 7 o'clock, because Shelley and Will's meetings typically start at 7 o'clock, not 6:30. So it should give at least an hour, but maybe an hour and a half. I don't think we decided on exactly how long we were gonna time limit it. We just didn't decide how long. So I
Right.
know some of the people from Housing and Land Use are going to end up going to HHS.
Yeah, but getting the city of Yes piece together is going to be complicated because there's so many components. And
Yeah.
my advice to the
I would
committee,
suggest you need more time.
yeah, my advice to the committee is, vote as you go. On each particular item and how you wish to respond. So at least you get most of them done.
And then you're having a June board meeting, so the rest could be voted at the June board.
Right, the one issue there is that Borough Board is hearing the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity at its June Borough Board meeting. I'm not able to vote unless I have a resolution. So our views as a community board would not be expressed at the borough level.
Which day,
unless
which
we
day
have,
is that?
Third Thursday.
the third Thursday of the month. So that was why we were pushing hard to get the, as much detail as possible on our position approved through the board, at the early June full board.
You might still be able to squeeze steering in before that. I think the third Thursday is the 21st, steering is the 18th. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll confirm all of these dates, but I think the message is that we don't have a lot of time. And we have a lot of work to
Let's
do.
put our heads
on
down
that.
on the city of
Yeah.
Yes.
BCI,
Yes, we have a number of resolutions. I mean, I think the most important one, everything's important, of course. But the key one that we had discussed and you had referenced was that for these dining out applications, they would be jointly voted upon by the transportation and the BCI committees. And we're gonna be holding them during the BCI committee time with under the sort of guidelines that we discussed and showed on the
do you have any resolutions for full board?
yes, one, you know, we're a little sad about it, but Jacob Spiegel is moving the 93rd, 94th, we approved that. We've got three dining out applications. I think we approved two of them. One was West 106th Street, Calaveras Corner. The other is 86 in Amsterdam, business called the Granola Bar. The third, and you know, other BCI members, please correct me if I'm wrong. On 68, 69 Empire Sichuan, Kyoto, we determined that the chart they gave us as to the distance between the chairs and the potted area for the trees was not correct, and so we went back to them and disproved with them to come back to us and correct that.
Have you heard from them?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder if it's-
Oh, yeah,
I
I was very surprised they
Yeah.
got that quick.
Those matters do not need to go to full board. Other than Jacob Spickle, just a regular SLA, because of the resolution, the interim resolution we passed full board, which gave the joint committees the power to speak on behalf of.
Ben, wasn't that the one I voted against because they were too, the barrier of the cafe was too close to the tree pit?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
Are
but
they-
then they've corrected that.
That was an age-old map that they had sent.
yes.
And
They actually did, so they only have a single line of tables then, because they could never fit in 2 lines of tables.
The new revised chart should have been sent, or map chart, whatever, should be sent to all the BCI members,
I
right?
think that's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I'll let you.
I think I saw it, I just.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I did see that it had come in and that they were, what's turning out to be interesting here is that the one, at least for sidewalk cafes, the one power, if you want to put it that way, that the community board has is to require a hearing. Otherwise, if we vote in favor of it, it does not require a hearing. But that has proved in the instance of 2 applications to be very powerful. And both of those applicants got back to us literally within a matter of a couple of days with the corrections that we indicated would make it viable.
That's great.
Maybe that's the best start.
So it's
Yeah.
an interesting outcome.
I think, did Doug have something? Doug, you
Yeah.
have something to say?
Yes, please. Well, a couple of things, I guess we could probably speak more at committee level, but, with these new changes, it looks like, in the past, when people were applying for their sidewalk cafe permits, they would have to give notice, right? They would put the notice in the window and in areas surrounding the cafe, and I don't know that that's required. And so, even though our meetings require notice, so certainly if people know that we're hearing them at CB7, that's great, but I don't know that the public is going to have an opportunity to know that there's a hearing like they used to. And the other thing I'll just say is that there are new regulations on obstructions per what Barbara was saying, and the way they measure and clear obstructions, they used to do a sort of a straight line obstruction. Now it can be jagged. So we'll have to study that. It's different than it used to be. It's not just the 8 feet. And I think that was all I needed to say. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The last question was, which I'm not clear of, I even asked Andrew Rigi, when we trigger a hearing, I mean, I guess the presumption is the hearing is at CB7, but the way the regs read it, like a public hearing could be at DOT, but that doesn't seem to make
It
sense.
has to be, my understanding of reading the regs is that the hearing has to be held by DOT.
Yeah.
But that we could testify at it.
Right. So,
That's the
right.
way I
So,
read it.
yeah. Okay. That's what it looked like to me too. Thanks.
Okay,
BCI.
YEL.
So, last week we had, Francis Uros, who's the, manager of government relations for the New York City Public Library, to talk about the district needs. She mentioned that, for fiscal year 24 and 25, the budget was cut 5% for each of those fiscal years. Fiscal 26, they've included, which they've never included before, $3 million capital request to upgrade the fire system for the performing arts. Yeah. As far as, so they won't know what, how much is going to be approved until July. So I asked her, so what can we do as a committee and as a board to be your advocate? And she said that other boards have written letters to our elected leaders. And I asked her to provide a sample of those letters in addition to some updated stats on programming, visitors, etc., so that we could, so the letter would pack a lot more punch and be a lot more effective. So I'm waiting for her to get back to us with that information. And my question for Beverly and Max is, does the letter, do we write that, and does that have to be approved by you?
Yeah, but if this is a question that has been multiple times in our district needs statement and in our budget requests. So we don't need to do a resolution.
Right.
We can just write the letter.
But I think,
Right, but
I
that's
think the
not the
letter has to include that this has been our district needs, and I can give you that piece of it.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so does the letter come from you and?
Well,
It'd be signed by Beverly.
Okay, I just want to understand.
What I have been doing is co-signing a letter with the committee co-chairs.
Understood.
Right, all right, we just wanted to know process, so if we draft it and approve it, then look at you to co-sign it, and then we can send it
I'll
out.
send you a sentence or two about the district meetings.
Yeah. CB7 loves libraries. We have always spoken about them. We always support them. So like the dollar amount, like we didn't say a fire system in
But
this
we've been asking
building.
for the fire system for, I think it's our third year.
Okay, good. So that works.
Yeah, so we did this last month, right, with a lot of support for borough president's housing policy, right? So it was the same thing, because it was in our district needs, we could just write the letter. So it was signed by Richard and I as co-chairs of the committee. And we sent it around to the whole committee, and Beverly put, notes on it. And then we could send it out. So
That's perfect. That's great. And then, so that leads us into our June meeting. So the committee thought it'd be a great idea to invite Carlina Rivera. And she is on city council, and her exact title is chair of the Committee on Cultural Affairs, Libraries, International, and Intergroup Relations. So it'd be great to have an advocate for YEL.
she's great.
Yeah. So we're thinking about inviting her for our June YEL meeting.
Be great.
Right.
I have a
May I make
question though. Can you reach out for that invite, or should we be trying to do that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that.
Can I make a comment about that?
Go ahead, Kevin.
It's been said to me in the past, when we invite another city council member who is representing a different district, it's a bit of a faux pas to not sort of run it by our city council person, because this is her district. I mean, and also, of course, our other city council. Right. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I think there's a little finesse involved with that. Does that make sense?
Certainly inform them that we're extending an invitation. Yes.
I think my question is it acceptable if she says no, but she sends perhaps one of her staff members?
Yeah,
I
okay,
think
that's fine. It's just starting that relationship.
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
So Max, you'll do that, and you'll let me know.
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah, I can reach out.
Awesome, thank you.
I'd love to support her and ask about her siren.
That's another piece, yes, that she's involved in.
She's
Yeah.
pushing forward, sounds like.
Yeah.
More to go.
I have the impression that right now you're not gonna get very much movement on anything except the budget through the council. 'Cause
Right.
That's where the heads are right now. All consuming. Senior task force.
Senior task force, we participated in the JCP Wellness Fair on last Thursday. And we had one nutty guy come up and complain about how horrible the community was, but on the whole, it was a great experience. And we added 2 more members to the task force who were there. We've been looking for somebody from Mount Sinai, and we've gotten a geriatrician to join us, which is perfect, wonderful. And it was really very well received, which moved our meeting from the 3rd Thursday to the 4th Thursday, so Beverly is planning to join us, which is also good.
Their normal time to listen to.
And we've asked, I sent an email out to all of the heads of, to all the organizations that have senior centers to come and talk to us about the funding situation, because we heard that fiscal year 25, there may be a $80 million reduction of funding for senior centers, which would be so I know that Gloria Patron from Red Oaks is coming. I haven't heard back from the others, but I'm assuming they will come. Because we can then write letter as well.
Yeah, or even, I mean, if we really feel very strongly about some of the cuts that we're understanding are still in the base budget from the mayor, we could testify, or we could send written testimony, even if we don't show up. Yeah. Okay, that's everything. Is there any new business anybody wishes to raise?
I have some public safety item.
He's done.
So that the next few subjects that we had spoken about that I would like to cover, like we did at the full boarding where we actually covered two topics, not one, it was a retail theft and then grand auto theft. The other items that I've identified as a priority, and I'd love to just have sort of a straw poll of everybody that's here at steering, is the identification and prevention of hate crimes. I think that's a very important thing, particularly now with what's going on in the world and locally. The prevention of and reporting of domestic violence. And then, of course, the good old identity theft. And I know that Roberta was working on doing something with the senior task force. Identity theft is particularly prevalent with our seniors, but of course, it's across the board in all age groups. So I guess, my thought was the next item and topic would be the identification and prevention of hate crimes, unless anybody else felt that any of these other topics or any new topics we should focus on here. And, we don't have to have any vote, but I was just, if anyone has any thoughts, I'd be very open to hearing what we think collectively would be the next priority.
For hate crimes, were you thinking of inviting just the PD or the DA's office or?
Yeah, they both have
What were you-
programs on it. And I was thinking more of the DA. I know we've done some training on it, of course. I think the DA's office has a specific presentation. The NYPD does. I'm actually in the process of doing kind of vetting out both of their presentations. I do think we should probably do one or the other, and obviously not both.
I would do hate.
It's very timely.
Yeah,
Very timely.
agreed.
Yeah.
Do you believe that we can get this organized for full board in June?
I right after Memorial Day, I think I'll be able to get a yes or no. So probably next week I can see if we can do that.
Close.
Yeah, no, I realize that. Yeah. I was
right.
waiting to get back on the various presentations that they have, and I have to follow up with them. They didn't get back to me.
Okay, so hopefully that would be a wonderful and very timely and important presentation.
Sorry to say it's timely.
Yeah, it's terrible.
On that matter, so my synagogue received a bomb threat 2 weeks ago. And as did 3 other Jewish institutions. Somebody at the synagogue was actually checking emails on Sabbath, which not everybody does. And they reached out to the 20 precinct, and the 20 precinct insisted on bringing the bomb squad. It was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so there weren't a lot of people in the building. They worked with the security from my synagogue to totally check the entire building and the 2 schools as well, to make sure that, they did a totally thorough check, even though they knew that it was probably crazy, that it was, it looked like it was fake.
They come in like giant.
They come in with their whole team and they just do their thing.
Wow. And the congregational players on 95th Street, 24 kids.
Yep.
Same-
Yeah.
same-
Sorry.
That's
And speaking with Deputy Inspector Pun Sullivan, they have a lot of operations that are preventative, obviously when there's a report, but there have been some high-level meetings in our neighborhood with people where a protest could sort of happen. And so they're very proactive to get ahead of it. They've really been great. And in fact, an interesting thing was there was a meeting planned within the 2-0, and the meeting was moved. This is with a high level government official that, let's just say, could be a polarizing figure, that they were planning to have the meeting within the 2-0. To avoid confrontation, they moved the meeting north. So the entire 2-0 command, who had been preventing to show up to safeguard this meeting, ended up moving up into the 2-4, which is kind of strange to see a whole bunch of police from the 2-0 in the 2-4, but they were following the meeting. So they're very proactive. It's it's reassuring to know that.
Told to talk.
There were 3 incidents in 1 week. In the 2-4, one was, 2 men dressed in Orthodox garb shot with pellet guns from a car. There was a Effie's Cafe on 95th Street. Had things written all over the street and the glass, and on 105th and in Riverside Park, these big boulders they have, for those anti-Israel graffiti, 6 of them, I think.
And Marion Restaurant had swastikas put on it the day it opened.
Right.
Yeah.
And, but this was within 3 days, 4 days, these 3 things happened. There was a demonstration at night on a Sunday night in front of congregation on JFS on 100th Street in West End, and Norman Siegel organized it. And a lot of civil rights speakers that I haven't seen in 30 years showed up in addition to the congregation of the people community, because it was striking, but especially at that spot, the 2 men who were shot at were in front of that synagogue when they were walking home.
But I think if you're gonna do anything, it has to be how to prevent.
Yes, there has to
It has to
be-
be very specific and,
Right,
and not, creating more strum and.
yes, great.
I'm not sure if I heard what Roberta said, but I tend to agree with what you said. Could you just say that a little louder, Roberta, if we're doing something?
Goal directed, that it's how to prevent, or what to do,
What to do to prevent,
that, or to take care of yourself, or help somebody, and not a lot of statistics and not a lot of,
argument,
it has to be short and to the point.
yeah, yeah.
Sure.
And also, DA's office, what they provide,
Right.
and the police, what they provide. People confuse hate speech and hate crime. And hate speech, they will not respond to. And, police, and people want to know, something happened, what's going to happen? And they're afraid nothing's going to happen, and who do you call? And how do you follow up? And that's important stuff, because a lot of stuff is not reported, because people said no one's going to do anything about it. I'll just share with you, I was a victim. Okay, an Uber driver came to pick me up. And I was trying to open the door and it wouldn't open. And I looked in and I said, door. And he got out of his car and came around and walked around the back of the car, and he says, "You want to buy?"
Whoa.
And I said,
No.
what? So I thought quickly. I said, hold on a minute, we'll take care of this in a minute. I said, what are you doing? I said, well, I want the police to be here when this fight takes place. He said, you're serious? I said, of course I'm serious. I'm not gonna fight you with no witnesses. Have the police here witness what's going on. I don't know who came over me, and he started walking around the back. And he went back into the car, and then he cursed me with anti-Semitic, thing. And I called Uber. And they said, they'll take care of it. I said, well, what will happen? Will I get feedback? Never heard. They said, we can't tell you what action we took. I said, did you take action? They said, call back, and it was a total waste.
You were able to identify that driver though.
I was able to identify from the name, one name.
Yeah.
And I had the car, and I said, that's on, and that was, so on.
Wow.
And, I never
Take mass transit next time, Shelley.
Well,
University to have dinner with my grandson, and I told him that. So,
yeah, I'm aware that in the state budget, one thing they did was to make additional crimes eligible for hate crime classification. So I think this is very, very much au courant of the moment, and we should Obviously, if we're able to pull something together for the June meeting, that would be great.
It's a hell of a time right now. We have somebody running for president who used the term right in one of the social media posts. God helps.
Anyway. Any other new business? Can I,
Actually, I just wanted to know if you're planning to have one of the abbreviated, full board meetings at the end of June.
yes, you came in just after I had said that.
Oh, okay.
No problem. What we'll do is to change the steering committee, because there's nothing to prepare for a full board in July, right? Into a very quick business session only full board meeting in order to accommodate any of the June resolutions that are hanging out from committees. Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?